A very good evening, the world, from a South Africa that is awash with excitement, partly because Two Full Tosses is back with myself and the chiselled Alan Committie, but also because, Mr. Committie, in the spirit of so many of our favourite retired cricketers, we can now head out and get ourselves a drink.
Exciting, happy days indeed. Bliss and joy unbridled. And to follow our president's address, I mean, we're live. I think we've got the same viewership, I think. Again, I think there's some crossover. It's a big crowd out there, but we're thrilled to be talking after such good news.
We are indeed. So the lockdown on alcohol sales has come to an end. I was wondering earlier, we've had 34 days, Alan Committie, of lockdown on alcohol sales. Of those 34, how many of them do you think David Boone and Merv Hughes would have survived?
I would have said probably lunchtime on day one.
All right, longer than I was expecting, but that's probably because they'd be a little caught up with the jet lag and would only wake up at 11:30.
That's right, exactly.
All right, cricket this week. We have got lots to look at, lots to celebrate, and a really cool and amazing guest. We also have, though, the reason that most people tune into the show, and by most people, I mean two of the three who've regularly joined us. And Mum, it's lovely to have you on again. The highlight is Alan's lost legend. You're going to tell us who it is just a little later, but let's pop that up. You spent a lot of time choosing these, Alan. This is your legend for this week. People can try and guess who it is.
That's right. Try and picture. That's a gorgeous face. I mean, if not a GQ model, who is this person and what has he done and why have I chosen him as our lost legend for this week? What I can tell you with some confidence is my catchphrase, he is no Lee Barnard. So we'll wait for you on. You can chat to us, I think, on the live chat comment section there, and we'll see if anybody can guess who this person is.
All right, try and guess who Alan's lost legend is this week. He is no Lee Barnard. He looks like he could be an extended member of the Weasley family. That would be my first guess, but I'm not sure if any of them played
magical on the cricket field, my friend. He would wield his bat much like you would a magic wand. That's what I can share with you, this marvelous man.
All right, so we'll find out who that lost legend is. In fact, I'm not even sure he would recognize that particular photo, which might give you a clue. Oh, we've had somebody come in straight away. Nikki Ferreira has thrown in a suggestion. Is that Mandy Y? We'll have to find out, Nikki Ferreira. I think she's Everett Ferreira's daughter. Now, there'd be another lost legend for you. Everett Ferreira, I think, played one game for Boerland and two for Border in the 1950s.
And is that related to Yogi Ferreira, who played for Natal? Do you remember Yogi? Yogi Ferreira.
You have this extraordinary list of cricketers nobody's ever heard of, Alan, and I admire you greatly for it. And it's... I know it cheers you up, especially at the moment, because let's get the difficult and dastardly stuff out of the way. South Africa versus Pakistan in Karachi. We were poor, and then we were back, and then we were all over them, and then it just disintegrated.
I thought we gave very good lunch breaks. I thought our tea breaks were exceptional. And that's about all we can say about our performance. That first day, we kind of scraped and scrabbled and pulled together. And somehow by the end of the day, we kind of all thought, that's all right. We're in a reasonable position. We had them 30-odd for 4. This is good. We're in this game. And then downhill from there. And now just listen to me, Mr. Nicholl, because I'm a big fan of our team and I want to support everybody. And I'm a huge Quinton de Kock fan as a keeper. I'm an even bigger fan of him as a batsman. And that's all I have to say. As a captain, I don't know for me, some of the decisions he made, it made me think that he's about as bright as a Kingsmead cricket day at 2:00 in the afternoon on any day that you play cricket there. I just want him to make some more kind of decisions based in fact and logic and good thought. And I'm just not sure we're seeing that. Maybe he's not our captain, is what I'm putting out on this Monday night after a good presidential address.
And 3 bottles of inexpensive white wine. Alan, let's not be cruel and nasty. He's doing his level best. And do you not think you're slightly prejudiced, Alan, because Quinton de Kock does not have your experience? He has never led the Westerford second 11 in a one-day game against Plumstead High School.
You're absolutely right, sir. And not only the second 11, I captained the third 11, sometimes simultaneously running from field to field, because, of course, as you know, we could barely field the first 11. So we would have to combine all our teams and try and play as many cricket sides as we could just to keep in those leagues. That's what made Westford so very, very special. Special needs, you better believe it. Ticked box.
All right. Well, I'm not sure what the Wi-Fi networks are like in the South African prison system, but for those of you out there from Westford who are watching, we bid you a very good evening and thank you for joining us. Crucial question here on the issue of fast bowling, which you were famous for backing away from furiously. Who is our finest fast bowler? Is it Kagiso Rabada, 200 wickets, 25 years old, an absolute phenomenon, or Shabnim Ismail, 5 for 12 in 4 overs, dismantling Pakistan in the last T20, and after that, player of the final award in Australia in the Women's Big Bash, best fast bowler in the women's game?
Extraordinary, unbelievable talent. And something that Rabada simply hasn't shown an ability to is that pigtail, which could cause wind resistance, which might affect run-ups and rhythm. Not even a question, not even an issue. That's skillful, just right there.
She is magnificent, as are our women's team. And I see they've got a tour of India coming up, which is great to see. Women's cricket is flying along. Cricket starts also later this week. Now, this is a difficult one for you and I, Alan, because we have a very set philosophy in cricket. We're always open to discussion and debate as long as we agree with it. And that is England versus India on Friday. Now, India winning or losing doesn't really bother us as long as England lose.
We want England to lose badly, but India not to win too well. If we could get that balance correct, then I think we're all going to be happy.
Yeah, that's. I think we might need to work on that one a little, but we'll be getting up. Return of Virat Kohli. He's a new dad, different team, different South African team, and we're going to speak to our guest about this in just a moment, and in fact, our guest in 2 weeks' time. But our guest tonight can give us his thoughts. Again, we mentioned it last week. We mentioned it again. It looks like England could go into the test on Friday without a single South African. And that, to me, that's raising the white flag. That's saying we're not interested in winning. We want to keep the BCCI on the right side. We don't give a damn about that. We want to lose this game. We're not picking any South Africans.
We've given up before we've even started. A very, very sad state of affairs. And again, as you pointed out recently, it's worth saying again, a reflection on our system, isn't it? And the kind of cricketers that we're producing. We have to work harder in sending our best cricketers over to England. Clearly, we're not doing that even.
The perils of Brexit. All right, we have a guest who's waiting to speak to us. He's very excited, and I'm going to introduce him in just a moment. But before we do that, Alan's lost legend. We did have Nikki Ferreira suggest it was Mandy. Why? Well, let's find out Mandy who and check out Alan's lost legend.
She was absolutely right. Mandy Y is who we're talking about. We'll bring up the picture again. Our last legend for this Monday night is the gorgeous visage that is Mandy Yacht. That's right, Mandy Yacht. For those young listeners and viewers who have tuned in tonight, you won't know this is a man who played in the 80s and early 90s for what was then Northern Transvaal. He was also a fine hockey player, I got to tell you. And that incredibly good-looking man was just magnificent, top-order batsman. And Yacht, of course, sounds a bit, doesn't it, Mandy Yacht, like an Israeli mining operation. We'll make a Yacht here, but in fact, it's not. Yacht is a Spanish term meaning bludgeoner of the ball. The other thing we remember Mandy Yacht for was his incredible fielding prowess. This is a man who would constantly feature on what we used to call catch of the season or classic catches. And I remember one where he'd come in flying from mid-wicket, tumbling head over heels, I think 7 or 8 times, ended up taking out the square leg umpire on the other side who'd moved across because of sun sighting problems, taking out an umpire, but collecting the catch. Magnificent. The only person who's probably come close to that, and again, here's not me blowing my own trumpet, but I'll remind you, Dan, I am responsible for taking the wicket of Herschel Gibbs, second 11 game out at Imhoff ground in Newlands, Cape Town, Many people say, oh, Al, did you dive forward and catch it just off the grass in the tips of your fingers? No, it came straight at me, chest height. I fumbled it. It bounced off my chin, back into my hands, back up, hit my nostril, caused a nosebleed, and I caught it in between my left elbow joint. But it was a catch nonetheless, and we managed to dismiss Herschel Gibbs for 167 of 72 deliveries. So we were winning that game comfortably, I think. And so I count myself not only as a great fan, but in many ways I am a Yacht mini, if you will, an impersonator. So my shout out this week is to the brilliant but not forgotten Mandy Yacht.
There we go. Mandy Yacht. In fact, we'll try and dig up a photo before the end of the show, because Mandy Yacht now has about 3 hectares of beard flowing gloriously down from that chin. A different man entirely. Well done, Nikki Ferreira, who wins today's competition, which is a video highlights compilation, The Catches of Alan Committie, although the plural might be stretching it ever so slightly. So we were going to. I phoned you yesterday in a state of resignation. It looked as though our guest for this week was going to be Kevin Peterson, and we had KP down. He was very, very, very excited. But then last minute, we managed to make some calls. And if I ask you, Alan, if I say to you, which country for you comes immediately to mind if I say cricket, what would it be?
Oh, obvious. Scotland.
Scotland. Spiritual home of cricket. And so we've managed to get, now in terms of cricket and rugby in Scotland, you're only allowed to play or coach the team if you can speak at least some Afrikaans. That's how it works. It's a very good policy that England cricket is forgetting, but which Scotland is not. And so the coach of Scotland, who's a mere 38 years old, he is but a babe in coaching. 38. Now, that's only 7 years older than you and me, Alan. So a very warm welcome, making his debut on Two Full Tossers. Very, very exciting. Welcome to Shane Burger.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I've been thoroughly entertained, and I'm glad you still see me as a young watcher or a young listener. And you'll be happy to know that I actually knew who Mandy Yacht was. So you guys will be really, Alan, you'll be really happy to know that I remember Mandy Yacht.
Do you remember the catch I was talking about? The one where he came running in from mid-wicket? It was kind of early 90s. I think it was 90s.
I actually don't. No, I don't. I just remember he was a superb batsman. That's what I remember.
He was in a great team.
Did you ever play against Mandy Yacht?
Yeah, you must have.
Definitely not, Dan. I didn't play against Mandy Yacht. I might have played against a few of the others. I actually made my debut with Daryl Cullinan. When I was back in the day with the Strikers, I made my debut with Daryl Cullinan, and he was a childhood hero for me. So to actually make my debut with someone like that, of that caliber, was an incredible moment for me.
Brilliant.
Well, let's find out what you're doing now, because although you are sitting on the only Wi-Fi connection in East London, and we're very grateful that you found it, that is a very temporary escape, because you've currently got one of the plum jobs in world sport, because you are the coach of the Scotland cricket team. How on earth did that come about, Shane Burger?
Yeah, it's a good question, Dan, and I'm happy to wear the Scottish badge with pride. As you can see, I put the hat on this evening, and I've done it especially for you guys. And it came about kind of, things happen when you least expect it. It was a really weird one for me. I'd had an amazing journey as a player, and then I probably, if I'm completely honest, was never good enough to represent my country. So I went into the coaching world, and my coaching journey got off to an amazing start with Cricket South Africa, going across to Australia with the A team. And then going on and winning a couple of awards, which I always say you're only as good as the players that you're coaching, and they often make you sometimes look a lot better than you might be. And then I got offered the opportunity at a young age to go coach an international team, and I've just absolutely loved it. I think the opportunity to go over and travel the world, obviously not in the current times of things. We haven't played a game of cricket for the last 13, 14 months. But the opportunity to go over, work in a different culture and environment, work with some absolutely fantastic players, I've really enjoyed. And I've just been, I use the word lucky. It really is lucky. Yes, you have to work hard, but I've been very lucky, and I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to going to a couple of World Cups in the next couple of years, and hopefully we can go on and get test status. That's what we really want to go on and do, and get full membership.
Is this the step, Shane Berger? Is this a stepping stone to one of the really big jobs, like, I don't know, Norway or Belgium, for instance?
Well, I see John T. Rhodes has gone across. He's coaching the Swedish team, and you can obviously see all these associates are. Yeah, so it's yeah. Look, it is a stepping stone, and I think, if I can keep walking the journey with Scotland, and we can become a full member, and it can take me to play. If it means me staying in Scotland, if it means it just being a stepping stone to something else, I've been, I'm in a good position, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. Look, there's also another reason I'm wearing a hat, guys. It's because coaches tend to lose hair a lot quicker, So coaching does come with it does add a little bit of stress, and but it's good pressure, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
You're starting to show a bit of Gary Kirsten forward there, which is, that's no bad thing, I don't think, under the circumstances.
Yeah, well, Alan, to be completely honest with you, my captain always used to ask me to bowl into the wind. So I find I've got the kind of the front bits going, So I was always one of the bowlers that had to do the hard yards and bowl into the wind, And I wasn't lucky enough to be bowling with the wind quite often. So I'm not that blessed right at the top. But no, it's also probably years and years of wearing caps and whatever else. But it's definitely a lot of pressure coaching, and I enjoy it.
Now,
check your phone very quickly, Shane. I'm just sending you a number for a mate of mine. His name's Jacques Callis, and he should be able to sort you out there. Hashtag plugs.
So, you're obviously spending some time. Explain to us where you're in. Did you say you're in East London at the moment? What are you doing down there?
No, I'm actually in Port Elizabeth, guys. So I'm in Port Elizabeth, and the reason for that is we've sent a couple of players to come and have a bit of an experience in Port Elizabeth, come and spend 2-3 months training here, get some good weather, which we're not that used to in Scotland. I'm sure you guys would know what I'm speaking about, and come and enjoy the sunshine and train with some really good coaches and players out here, the Warriors, and it's just a good experience for them. So I'm down here for a week. And then I travel back to Scotland in the middle of February to get back there and commence a bit of a pre-season style training before we start our season in Scotland.
Shane, I'm in awe. You are a genius. Very simply, now the guys get back there, and it's either you score 100, you take 5 wickets, or I'm sending you back to Port Elizabeth. You know what it's like. I will send you back there. If you do not perform, you are going back to Port Elizabeth. That is brilliant, Shane. You're a genius.
Genius.
No, we look, we're very lucky to have good connections in South Africa still. So I'm lucky to be able to send the guys down here, and they get very well looked after. And I reckon if I had to banish them back to Port Elizabeth, they would take that probably with the great weather we're having down here at the moment.
Tell me, so you're obviously, when you go back to Scotland, do you sound a little bit more Scottish? Do you start to get a little bit of a brogue, a little bit of an accent going when you're up north?
Definitely not. There's plenty South Africans over there. That's so they kind of keep you going, and I even get to speak quite a lot of Afrikaans that side, because half the Edinburgh rugby team is Afrikaans. Their line-out calls are actually done in Afrikaans, and so no, we're still able to be very much South African over there. But no, look, the Scottish culture and our captain has got a bit of South African blood in him, and there are 1 or 2 other South Africans within the squad, so they managed to still keep the South African in me.
Do you have a full team? Have you got 11 players?
Yeah, no, we get a few guys out the pubs there, Dan. They're more than happy to come and play the odd game of cricket. But we're funny enough, we have an incredible squad of players that we can pick from. I've got about 30 guys that we can pick from, and they a highly talented and still skilled group. But a bit of the worry for me was, and I must tell you guys a story. My first day I arrived in Scotland, it was on the 5th of March 2019. I got out the plane, got into the cab, and the cab driver, who was an obvious football fan, turned around to me and said, "Well, what are you doing in Scotland?" And I said to him, "Well, I'm coming to coach your national cricket team." And he turned around and said, "Well, we don't have a cricket team here, so I don't know what you're doing here." so that was the first thing I was exposed to in Scotland, which was a very interesting experience I had to handle first up.
What happens when in the middle of a game, one of the players gets called to their proper job? like suddenly there's a plumbing accident and then your number 3 batsman is not available to bat?
Well, Alan, you joke like that. We've got guys in our squad who do have to go find other jobs, and you just the sort of pressures we have to deal with, and these are guys with families and kids who are still pursuing this cricketing dream of wanting to go to a World Cup, wanting to play for their country. It's just absolutely, I'm so humbled by what these guys have given up and what they've sacrificed. It's just, there's too many good stories to write. And you know what, if anybody deserves to go to a World Cup and put performances in, and not just a World Cup, all the other tournaments, it's this group of players. They inspire me every day and they energize me every single day. It's truly, it's very humbling.
That's great. Where do you see
South Africans?
Yes, exactly. Where do you see, I as a coaching, let's take you're watching the game play out in the middle. Obviously, one of the hardest parts of being a coach is, as you said earlier, it does depend on the group, the team of players that you're working with. And once they're out there, they're doing the business. Are you more Mickey Arthur or are you more Andy Flower in the way you handle yourself in the pavilion watching the game?
Alan, it's simple. I'm Shane Berger. I don't try to be anybody or like those guys. I have my way. I have my style. I find that the more you empower the players to think for themselves and take responsibility, the better results you get out of them. But you mentioned someone like Mickey Arthur. I have the utmost respect for him. He's now coaching his 4th international team. And someone like Andy Flower, who I had the pleasure of actually chatting with not so long ago. Really, really smart guy, reads the game well. He's been all over the world. Look, I think the key to coaching is taking, nitpicking, and actually they say the best coaches are the best stealers. You try to take the really good things from the other coaches and you throw in your own mix, and you maybe take your experiences that you had as a player. And not every player is always going to be a fantastic coach. I think you really have to go and learn about the game. And the day you think you know it all is the day Mother Cricket comes and bites you in the arse. So I think every day is a day to continue to get better. And yes, whilst I look at a lot of those coaches and I admire a lot of them, I really like to bring my own style to things, and I think that's the key to being authentic, just trying to be yourself, really.
Shane, you mentioned Mickey Arthur's now on his 4th international team. Why do you think he can't hold down a job?
Well, look, I think this highly professional world of coaching can also be a horrible world, guys. You sometimes get spat out of systems, before you even know it, and you just have to look at the football world in terms of the quick turnaround of managers. Certainly, the cricket world isn't as cutthroat, but I think a coaching cycle is probably 3, 4, 5 years maybe, and then it's a good thing to move on. And quite often, either the coach has to go, or you've got to bring in a whole new set of players, because things tend to get a little bit stale, and you've got to bring in new ideas. But the really good guys are the guys that are able. What did Jose Mourinho say? He says you're never a proper manager or coach until you get fired. But I suppose it's only in the football world that pressure is probably a lot less, because there's huge financial rewards for you. Whereas sometimes in the cricketing world, it can be a daunting experience taking on a job and not knowing what the next year or maybe.
I think the hamster that is powering Port Elizabeth's internet.
The year after that could look like. So sorry guys, I'm back, I think.
You're back.
Port Elizabeth's not being very kind to us from connection issues. Apologies.
What did Shane Berger say to the Proteas cricket side now in this gap between tests and going in after such a kind of resounding loss? What's the kind of thing you might say to a team like that?
Yeah, well, look, I think the quicker you put it behind you, the better. You got to pick up on what you did really well. A place like going to Pakistan is never easy, and a lot of these players wouldn't have been there before. I think whilst they've gone to the subcontinent, I think a place like Pakistan is completely different. So the pressures are huge on the guys. It's the guys. It's the ability to learn really quickly, not make those same mistakes again. I'm trying to say the sort of things that a coach would say, and it's it's about ultimately picking the right combination of players that can go out there and perform against in what would be very, very foreign conditions. I'm sure the guys and Bouch and Enoch and all the guys won't be leaving any stones left unturned. They'll be trying their best to make sure those guys are best prepared and trying to be the best players they can be. but ultimately things go wrong, and players make mistakes. But I think in situations like that, you've got to find who your warriors are, and you've got to find who your guys are that are willing to really go the extra mile in those tough conditions. That's for me is the key, is find those characters that are willing to willing to bleed for their country, to go out there and bat a long period of time. I find in Test cricket now, it's almost gone out the window, where guys are really prepared to knuckle down and bat for long periods of time. And you look at the world's best players, your Kohlis, your Smiths, these guys, and even a Dean Elgar, throw him into the mix, just to go out and grind it out and really play a long innings is something that we really need right now. You've got to be getting 300, 350 plus over there. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really tough.
So that's breaking news. We need more warriors, more players from the Eastern Cape. I wouldn't have. That's something we've got to look at.
Indeed. And we haven't seen those qualities, I think, properly, Alan Committie, in South Africa since the last of those 6 first-class hundreds that Scheinberger scored and lit up the domestic scene with. So we long for those days to come back. I did promise you off air that I'd tell you a very quick story about your boss, Mr. Gus McKay, the Zimbabwean fast bowling all-rounder who now runs Cricket Scotland. I'm not sure how, but he does. So we played, having grown up in Zimbabwe myself, we played a country districts game, and Gus was opening the bowling, and I was about 15 and was giving him some advice from mid-wicket while he was batting. And I think Gus well enough, Shane, so he didn't take that terribly well at all, especially as I was 15 and he was playing international cricket. And he opened the bowling, and I cooked the first 3 just round the ears, narrowly missing me, and got rid of the 4th one. And then he started having a go at my dad at the other end. And at the end of that confrontation, the umpire had to separate Mr. Gus McKay and myself, thankfully, because I weighed about the same as Gus's cricket bat. And that was our initial meeting about, probably 25 years ago now.
That's fantastic.
He's Mr. McKay. He's a great man. He's a fiery character. He gets the job done, I like to say. And I tell you what, if you want to see him fiery, as you mentioned, Dan, you've got to get him on the golf course. That's a good one. Go beat him on the golf course, and you see that fiery nature of him come out again. But he's a great man, and since his introduction, just a guy who really understands the game, played the game. Really nice to work with someone like that.
Is one of the reasons you're working in Scotland now because of the great golf courses there?
Absolutely. There's some incredible courses at that side, Alan. They are amazing. We've actually one of our players in our squad, and you mentioned a few of the guys that have to go out and do various other jobs. One of our squad members actually used to caddy at the old course. So that's a pretty good contact to have.
That's brilliant.
Alan, I know that you've got a good friend of yours, a good friend of ours, good friend of the show's, who will be joining us very shortly from the Northern Griqualand Umpires and Scorers Association. He is the lifetime chairman. So I'll let you slip away and go and grab him. He's always a welcome guest. And while that happens, Shane, I've got a few questions for you. Now, normally we ask our guests questions about themselves, but after Vernon Philander got all 5 wrong last week and blamed CricInfo in its entirety, I thought I'd go something a little different this week. And this is the Great Scheinberger Scotland Quiz. How much do you know about your adopted home? So I've got 5 questions for you. The aim is to try and get at least 5 out of 5. We'll see how you go. 3 of them are pictures. The first of those, I'd like you to tell me, Shane, who is this person up on screen at the moment? Nice, easy one for you. Famous Scotsman.
Mr. William Wallace, Mel Gibson, otherwise known as Braveheart.
Oh, you get bonus points for all 3. Famous Scotsman. There we go. Fantastic. Mel Gibson.
Thanks for going easy on me, Dan.
All right. Question number 2. I'd like to know, can you name me one Scottish football team other than Rangers or Celtic?
Okay, this is a good one. So I'm going to go for Hibs. They're based in Edinburgh, and the reason I say Hibs is one of our players is a huge fan of them and knows some of the players. So I'm going to go for Hibs, who are based in Edinburgh.
All right, well done. Nice and quick too. I would have gone with either Partick Thistle or Queen of the South or maybe Motherwell or Dunfermline, but we'll definitely take Hibs as a very solid answer. All right, 2 from 2. Here's your second pictorial question. Who is the person in question here, Shane Berger? Another legendary Scot who looks faintly like my late grandmother.
Well, that is none other than Mr. Billy Connolly. He's an amazing comedian. And actually has a fantastic singing voice too. I really enjoy him. So no, he's an absolute legend.
Wonderful, wonderful Scott indeed. Great man. All right, golf question. You mentioned one of the golf courses a little earlier, the Old Course, where one of your players gets into your team on the basis that he gets you tee times at the Old Course, which I think is entirely right and proper. The Old Course forms part of a tournament which is hosted by our fellow South African, Johan Rupert, the Alfred Dunhill Links Championships. What are the other 2 courses that are played in Scotland at the Dunhill Links?
Wow, Dan, now you're asking me. Daniel Links. I'm going to have to take an absolute flyer, and I'm going to go for Carnoustie and Muirfield.
Carnoustie and Muirfield. You've got 1 out of 2. Carnoustie would do it. I think Muirfield might be a bit of a drive from the Old Course. It's actually Kings Barnes.
Right.
Okay. And if you haven't played Kings Barnes, which I'm guessing you haven't, absolutely majestic. Well worth an official team bonding session. All right, you got 3 out of 5, which means at the moment you're 3 better than Vernon Philander was last week. So your final question, one last famous Scot. Who's the person in picture here, Shane Berger?
Wow.
Now, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but if you get this wrong, you're probably going to be deported.
Right. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo is Portuguese, so it's definitely not him. I'm going to go for...
He could almost be a young Marchand de Lange, couldn't he?
That's a good shot. Dan, I have absolutely no idea.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's sadly no longer with us, but he remains one of the coolest people the world has ever known. And he did look a little different when the rest of us got to know him slightly better as 007. That is a young Sean Connery.
Wow. Wow. That is incredible. I would never have guessed that.
Oh,
that's dear. Incredible.
Yeah, look, it would have been nice to go back to Scotland, but at least you can stay on at home instead. All right,
I'm able to get back. Yes,
we're almost wrapped up. But before we do, our very special guest, the chairman of the Griqualand North Umpires and Scorers Association, is Meneer Johan van der Walt, and he's a very special guest with us. So, Johan, if I may ask you to join us, and I know you're a big fan of Shane Berger, so please welcome in. There we go. Very good evening, Johan.
Oh, Dan, it's a great ear, it's a great honor for myself to be here to talk with you, Mr. Shane Berger. You're wonderful. You represent everything that are good about this country, and you take it now over the seas. And I guess baie bly om saam met jou te praat. I guess the 2 questions I must ask now about this. You talked about the new culture, a cultuur, the Scottish, jammer my tande, the Scottish. I hate it when that happens. Does that happen with you sometimes when a teacher's where I hate it? The Scottish culture, can you explanate for me, because I am a layman, you would be surprised, but I do occasionally get action. I am a layman. How does it work? The tossing of the calves, the carver, the tossing of your caber. Do you know this? Do you know this game they play there? What the bloody hell is going on there? And can you explain for me? And why the hell would the Scottish people do that?
Well, yeah, ek weet nie of ek Afrikaans moet praat nie, but I'll say it in English. Ek het geen idee nie. I have absolutely no idea. And actually, I would love for you to maybe explain to me what you think the game might be.
Well, it's so strange, aren't it? Because now I don't even know what is a caver. What it are is a great big pole, and then they don't know what to do with it. Maybe it are in this country is probably electricity poles, which they are getting rid of because they're useless. They're not connecting the electricity anyway. I don't know. Ek vra vir jou man, Popol. Don't ask the questions back. It's my bloody show. Get your own show if you want to ask your questions. What are my first questions?
They say good coaching is if you can ask good questions. So I'm trying to throw some good questions back at you.
Well, I've heard the kind of quality questions you ask, and it make me worried about Scots cricket. The other thing I must ask from you is, have you worn a kilt? Have you had now the opportunity to wear a kilt? Ne? Dus die prachtige with the patterns on it. Do you wear the kilt?
I haven't worn a kilt yet. I think if it was offered to me, and when I have the opportunity to wear the kilt, I will definitely do that, and I will wear it with pride. That's for sure.
If you do, will it be? Do you think? Because you know they famously don't wear nothing now under. There's no extra cover when you wear the kilt. It's just you alone. Sometimes you call for no balls, but occasionally I don't know for you. Don't please. It's too obvious. I just want to know for you, when you wear a kilt with nothing, would it be a long on or a silly point?
I would like to say a long on, but many others might say a silly point.
As long as you've got to tickle down your fine leg. Now, here's what I want to ask you, some quick questions, and you just answer which one. You don't give an explanation. We don't have bloody time for that. You've already spoken too much. Quickly now for me, Bob Woolmer or Andy Flower?
Bob Woolmer.
A Scotch egg or Scotch guard?
A Scotch egg.
Ooh. 2 hours in the nets or 2 hours with the analysis team?
2 hours in the nets.
Ireland of England?
Ireland.
Ooh, controversial. Ravi Shastri of Gary Kirsten?
Gary Kirsten.
That's nice, yeah, because you look like his lesbian half brother. No, you do. Now I ask you now, chops of wors? Chops of wors?
Ja, sommer al twee, but I'll say chops.
Net een kies.
Chops.
Mooi. 5 bowlers in a lineup or 4 bowlers and an extra batsman?
I will go for 4 bowlers and an extra batsman.
Ooh. Heads or tails? Quickly.
Tails.
Nice. Kenny Dalglish or Alex Ferguson?
Alex Ferguson, hands down, every single day of the week.
All right, calm down. And finally, here it is, a Highland fling of a long arm. Which dance?
A long arm verseker.
Well, that'll go with your long on under the kilt, wouldn't it? Beautiful. This has been a great honor. Thank you so much for talking with me and over me and around me. I don't have time. I've just heard that we can have alcohol, and I'm going to go and look for some. Baie dankie. Tot weer sien.
Baie dankie, meneer.
Thank you very much for joining us for one of the more surreal interactions our Scottish coach will have this year. I'll add 3 very quick ones to that rapid fire before we let you go, Shane. A deep fried Mars bar or a cook sister?
Dan, I think a cook sister without a shadow of a doubt.
Then a haggis or a skilpaikie?
Sure, I'm going to have to say haggis on this occasion.
Really?
If done correctly. I've had some really good haggis, and I've had some really bad haggis.
No, you're just saying that to try and make the Scottish people watching this like you more. Oh God, haggis, revolting. All right, the most important one, because I know you've got coastal roots, if I'm not mistaken. So Iron Brew and vodka or cane and cream soda?
I'll probably go for cane and cream soda. Cane and cream soda.
All right. Only the important questions being asked here on Two Full Tosses. Before we let you go and get on that bus back via Cairo to Scotland, because things are a little tight, the Scottish Cricket Union at the moment. When do you head back, and what, if all goes according to plan, is on the horizon for Scottish cricket for the rest of the year?
Yeah. I head back middle of February, Dan. Obviously on that bus, it's going to take a while to get back. I'm hoping that they won't let me, won't force me to quarantine if I catch that bus. But we've got a hell of a year ahead of us. So we've got a really exciting year. We've got a lot of cricket, hopefully. It's a World Cup year. It's a T20 World Cup year that we get to go to India and hopefully beat South Africa in the final. That'll be really good. And we've got a really big year in terms of a lot of cricket, which is something we really need, and then we've got to Sri Lanka, we've got a few other places we're going. So I think it's really important that we get all these trips in, and really important that the players have great experiences in doing that.
Whew, okay, so just in case you missed that, Shane Berger said he wants Scotland to beat South Africa in the final. Coming up on screen now, that is Shane's mobile number and his home address in Scotland. Please send them to all of your friends. Shane, good luck. And I'm going to see you before you head back, so we've got some stuff for the Dan Nicholl show. Before I say goodbye to him, any last words of wisdom or warning, Mr. Committie?
Only this, that has been a great pleasure and an honor, and thank you, sir, and good luck. But I thought we missed an opportunity by saying you travel by bus when, of course, quite obviously you would travel by coach. I'll see myself.
That is terrible, Alan Committie, but an appropriate note to say goodbye. And I will just wish you best of luck getting back, getting the team up and running, getting them going. And I think your biggest challenge, really, Shane, is at the moment, I can see where your white T-shirt ends and your skin begins. And that's not very Scottish. So work on that. And once you look like a bottle of Tipex, then you're fully integrated. Thank you so much for being on Two Full Tosses. Really appreciate it. And best of luck getting back to Scotland.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been an absolute privilege and an honor to be here, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You guys have entertained me for a long time. Thank you very much.
So there we go. Shane Berger, the coach of the national Scottish cricket team. And in fact, we're giving away 4 places in that team at the T20 World Cup on next week's show. I'm very excited about it. Alan Committie, lovely to see you. I know you've got a Westford Old Boys meeting to get to. So we'll bid you farewell and look forward to seeing you again next week. And who knows, maybe next week we'll have Kevin Peterson on the show.
I'm sure, without doubt. See you then.
This is Two Full Tosses, myself, Dan Nicholl, Alan Committie. Goodbye.